In 1519, a merchant family from a mid-sized German city spent enough money to buy an emperor. Not influence an election. Buy it, literally paying the men who cast the votes. And the way that debt eventually got repaid didn't just make the family richer. It helped trigger a religious rebellion that split Europe in half and is still shaping the world today. This is the story of the Fuggers, how a textile trading family from Augsburg became the most powerful financial force in Europe, and how the very mechanism that built their empire quietly lit the fuse on the Reformation. The Fugger family started in Augsburg as textile merchants, unremarkable among dozens of similar trading families scattered across German trading towns. For 2 generations, they did what everyone else did: buy cloth, sell cloth, grow slowly. What changed everything was Jacob Fugger, the youngest of the family's sons, sent as a young man to Venice to learn banking and bookkeeping from Italian merchants who were decades ahead of German trading families in financial sophistication. Jacob came back with more than just double-entry bookkeeping. He came back understanding something almost nobody in Germany had grasped yet, that lending to rulers, done carefully, could be more profitable than any amount of cloth trading. His breakthrough wasn't lending money for interest, which was still religiously and legally fraught the same way it was for the Medici a century earlier. It was realizing that rulers didn't just need cash. They needed cash urgently, for wars and courts and ambitions that outran their tax revenue, and desperate borrowers would agree to almost anything to get money fast. Jacob's specific innovation was trading loans not for interest payments, but for control of mines. Central Europe in this period ran on silver and copper extracted from Tyrol and Hungary, and the rulers who controlled that land were often cash poor even while sitting on enormous mineral wealth they didn't have the capital to extract themselves. Jacob offered a deal: the Fuggers would lend the ruler money now, in exchange for the rights to mine and sell the silver and copper from his territory. This gave the Fuggers something the Medici, a century earlier, never had. The Medici controlled the movement of money. The Fuggers controlled the metal money was made from in the first place. That distinction mattered enormously. Whoever controlled the raw material behind Europe's currency had leverage that reached further than any single loan. They had a hand in the actual money supply of half the continent, years before anyone had a word for monetary policy. That leverage came due in 1519, at the most consequential election in the Holy Roman Empire's history. When Emperor Maximilian I died, the imperial crown wasn't inherited, it was elected, by 7 prince-electors. 2 serious candidates emerged, Francis I of France, and Maximilian's own grandson, Charles. Here's what most retellings leave out: this election was decided by direct bribery, on a scale that required an enormous amount of ready capital neither royal treasury actually had sitting available. Jacob Fugger personally financed Charles's side of it, arranging the funds used to pay the electors directly for their votes. Charles won. He became Holy Roman Emperor Charles V, ruler of territory spanning from Spain to Austria to the Americas, and one of the most powerful thrones in European history was, quite literally, purchased with Fugger money. Fugger wasn't shy about pointing this out. In a letter that survives to this day, he told Charles plainly that without his money, the imperial crown would never have come to him at all, and that he was owed for it. Not flattery, not subtlety. A debt, stated bluntly, from a merchant to an emperor. But the loan that changed world history wasn't the one for Charles's crown. It was a smaller, earlier one, to a churchman named Albrecht of Brandenburg. Albrecht wanted to become Archbishop of Mainz, one of the most powerful church positions in Germany. The church required a substantial payment to grant it, and Albrecht didn't have anywhere close to enough money. The Fuggers did, and they lent it to him. That single loan set up a financial mechanism that would, within a few years, help ignite a rebellion against the Catholic Church itself. Here's how the mechanism actually worked. To repay the Fuggers, Albrecht received church permission to organize the sale of indulgences, payments believed to reduce punishment for sin, across his territory. The proceeds were split, openly on paper, between funding for a Rome building project and, quietly, repayment of the Fugger loan. The man selling these indulgences most aggressively was a friar named Johann Tetzel, whose traveling sales campaign became notorious across Germany for how bluntly it framed forgiveness as a financial transaction: pay this amount, receive this benefit, no ambiguity about it. It was specifically this campaign, funded to quietly repay a private banking debt, that provoked a German monk named Martin Luther to write his 95 Theses in 1517. Luther wasn't objecting to abstract theology floating in a vacuum. He was reacting to a very specific, very visible, very aggressive fundraising campaign happening in towns near his own, one whose financial plumbing, had he known the full picture, traced directly back to a European banking family collecting on a loan. The Fuggers almost certainly didn't intend any of this. They were solving an ordinary financing problem the same way they always had: lend money, get repaid through whatever revenue stream was available. But the specific revenue stream this time happened to be one of the most explosive issues in church history, and lighting that fuse wasn't a plan. It was a side effect nobody at the bank saw coming. The consequences reached further than a single scandal. As the Reformation spread, splitting German territories between Catholic and Protestant rulers, the Fuggers found themselves financially entangled with the Catholic side, specifically the Habsburg emperors they'd helped install, and the church whose indulgence system had funded one of their loans. This didn't destroy them immediately. For decades afterward, the family remained essential creditors to the Habsburg dynasty, financing wars across an increasingly divided continent. But that same deep entanglement with one side of a generational religious conflict left them exposed in a way the more diversified Medici and Rothschild networks weren't. When the 30 Years' War devastated Central Europe a century later, and Habsburg finances collapsed under the weight of prolonged warfare, Fugger fortunes collapsed with them, a slow bleed rather than a single dramatic failure, but a collapse all the same. The Fuggers show us something the Medici and Rothschild stories only hint at: financial power doesn't stay contained in finance. A mining monopoly built an empire. A loan to fund a bishop's career became the spark for a religious revolution that reshaped an entire continent. And a family's decision to stay loyal to one side of that same conflict, generations later, is what finally brought them down. Every time a modern company's fortune rises and falls with a single dominant customer or a single political alliance, it's running a 600-year-old lesson the Fuggers learned the hard way. Next time, we go back further still, to the medieval knights who invented the world's first bank check, and built a financial network so powerful that a king had them all arrested on the same night to erase the debt he owed them.